Go here. And we're live, but give us a moment because I don't have the damn YouTube link because Google is ass backwards. Okay, here we go. Alright. And that should be getting us viewer type peoples now, hopefully.
Do we hear like a ticker counter that shows us how many people are actually watching us? Or theoretically, could we just be talking to the void?
Whoa, jeez. What? Okay. I'm gonna exit out of that tab now. But yes, I do have a thing that shows us how many viewers we have, and we have one viewer. Hello, viewer.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad that I'm here for the one person watching. Why do you keep making those noises? What is going on your side of the screen?
I had the a thing.
A thing.
What is going on?
I honestly, I don't know.
What's going on.
You were the only one who can explain it to us.
Okay, there we go. I had the things open for the YouTube video on my screen so I could link it, but I couldn't mute the damn thing, so it kept repeating.
Ah, I see. I see.
Now that we have horrifically butchered things. Oh, man. Okay, so hello, Standing Trials, and welcome to a vlog done by a bunch of people who barely know what we're doing. And ideally we will at some point be discussing Magic here, but unfortunately Mythic is apparently still passed out unconscious, I think.
Ideally at some point we will know what we're doing.
I have... we lost a viewer. Crap.
The one viewer?
We lost the one viewer.
Yeah, we're doing great. Shit.
We're talking to the void. All right, whatever. Just move on. Just move forward. What's our first topic of discussion?
Apparently Mythic was getting a lot of questions about Magic, but as he disinclined to share them,
So we're just talking about Magic.
Yeah. This is going so happily for us.
Oh, yeah. In many years, we'll look back on this and laugh.
I'm laughing now.
We'll just look back at this now and laugh.
I like how we're doing this because you said there were people that woke up for this, and we have no viewers.
Yeah, this is going. Oh man. But we got everything sorted, I think. So.
Really? We haven't even started yet.
Shut up, Harry.
I mean, we have it sorted in the sense that we put nothing on the table, so it's all very neat.
We have it sorted so that the audio errors are no longer a problem. So, oh wait, I have it. It beeped at me.
Okay.
I don't know what it beeped at me for. So,
Magic.
Blake, you were the one who talked. We should actually probably start by introducing ourselves. That might help. I'm Basilisk, the guy who actually works mostly on Magic is Plague, if he wants to introduce himself.
Wait, me?
Oh, right, no. Sorry, I was looking at a different thing. Yeah, I am Plague. I am a poet and a pathogen.
And, what was that thing? Wish I knew about that 2 seconds ago. And we also have Thunder.
Thunder. I am Thunder.
Okay, so, Plague, is there anything interesting about Magic that you want to start us off with?
Well, I wish I could start off with a question that somebody's asked. There are a lot of interesting things about Magic. Is there anywhere particular that you'd like me to start in general? I know I've had to explain how Magic works to a couple more people than I thought I would recently, so I could start there with just a basic explanation of how it all goes down.
Let's start with that, yes.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so from my understanding, in the beginning there were gods. Then they exploded. Um, After the explosion, bits and pieces of God, these holes in the grounds, caverns, canyons, wells, whatever you want to call them, called fractures. The fractures were the echo of the gods' explosion, where they deifically left all of their bits and pieces. Inside these fractures, which are all over the place, there were only a few major fractures, but now there are more. Inside the fractures are wells. Now, I don't mean like you go in there and you can draw water from a well. I can see how that might be confusing, but well as in a well of power within somebody. So it's more of they're actually stones with the elasticity of silly putty that you have to pull off of the walls, and those are wells. Wells are untasked reservoirs of magical energy of mana, and you craft those into conduits. The conduits are what allows you to cast a spell. A wizard without a conduit is basically just a dude who says he can do something and can't. There are two magics that you can use without conduits. That's ensorcelment, the creation of conduit magic, and attunement, what every sorcerer needs, otherwise they can't find the magic things so that they can turn them into other magic things.
Whoa, what the hell? Oh, hello, Bornax.
So,
Again.
basically, once you have these wells, which you get out of fractures, and fractures have a number of different dangers associated with them because of so much mana going on around it. You have mutated mana beasts, horrifying jackalopes, theoretically, that could shoot lightning out of their antlers. I don't know. It could happen. We haven't made all the
manifestations of your memories.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. The thing and I are working on it. In any case, if you braid these fractures and you find these wells, you can task them into conduits. Necromancers use raw wells in order to animate a corpse. They don't turn those into conduits. They just need them to make the dead bodies walk around and do the bidding. But once you have created a conduit, which can only be tasked to one kind of magic, if you try to channel a different magic through the wrong sort of conduit, it explodes. If you try to channel too much magic through a conduit, it explodes. Conduits have a thing about exploding. You don't want to be around when it happens. It is mostly murderous.
That would be bad, considering
all
of the juice that goes into them. Even in... I can never remember how you pronounce that first level. I think it's pronounced Ezomite, or Ezomite, but I've always called it Easymite.
I made up rock names. I don't know. I have not remembered or memorized the rock names. I am sorry. I have failed the public.
Look, you're still not fucking watching.
I have failed the theoretical public that will watch this later. Okay. Once you have your conduit, you walk around with your magic bling and you can cast spells out of it. Can a magician get out of a jail cell? Well, if you are inclined to throw them in a prison with all their bits and baubles and jewelry, then yes, they can. But if you take it away from them, then no, they'll just sit there. And since a lot of the PCs that currently have magic pump so much skills into their magic, without their magic, they don't have a lot they can do.
Yeah, that's the one problem I've noticed with magic, starting out with magic, is that in order to be proficient at starting out, you basically have to have just magic.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. You have to consider that if your conduit is taken away from you, or you forget it at your house or something, then exactly. All of your magical skill means virtually nothing, unless it's with attunement and ensorcelment, the only real magics that you can use without your conduits.
That would be a mess to need ensorcelment to make conduits.
Yeah, ensorcelment takes the raw wells
to make conduits.
Ensorcelment takes the raw wells and creates conduits out of them. And then attunement, of course, is just like magic sight. Magic sight. Fine. So attunement, if you're looking for a mage, just walk around using attunement. The mages are going to be the people that are walking around with conduits, which will be easy to find because they glow. They will jump out at you if you're using attunement. Actually, fantastically easy to find a mage that knows what they're doing.
And we have a viewer again. Awesome.
Oh, welcome, viewer.
Population U.
Yeah, basically.
And
Okay.
now that I'm done
And-
with my long diatribe, of course the viewer shows up.
Well, okay. Basically, what Plague just said was that what the hell? And hello, Dressari. Thing is, I don't actually know how to tell who our viewers are, so for all I know, I can't. It doesn't tell me.
We shouldn't worry about it. We talk for our own edification, not the viewers.
But basically, what Plague just explained how. Okay. Plague just explained how a conduit is made, which is mostly only useful if you want to go into ensorcelment. Ensorcelment, however you fucking pronounce that thing. Gotta answer chat questions really quick. Okay. Now then, there is actually one question or not one question, but one notion that's been going around standing trials for quite a while, is that as long as you have your conduit... Hey, we're up to 2.
Keep on subject.
No. But as long as you have your conduit, Arcana basically makes you invincible.
Oh.
And,
I don't see that at all.
Yeah, that's... No.
No. Magic to me seems very limited in many respects, to be honest.
Right. As Plague over there said, without your... okay, that's what happened to him. Without your conduit, you are basically a
Normal person.
flesh pile.
Yeah.
But even with your conduit, you're not invincible. One notion that got bandied around a while back was that an army of, let's say, lancers with gravitation, which is basically just raw magical force directed at somebody. There you go, Peek. Is that as long as with gravitation, you could basically destroy any army arrayed in your path. Which we're up to 3 now. Which would be true if you wanted to... My brain just shut down.
Sure, if you want to burn yourself out, use all your mana, and that's it.
Yes, that's one thing. You could burn yourself out, give yourself massive megalomania, and other unfun things.
Yeah.
Okay, I think paranoia is one of them. The claustrophobia, megalomania, bloodlust, hot flashes, and, make yourself blind, deaf, and dumb.
Yeah, it's things that you don't really want.
Constant muscle spasms. So don't burn with gravitation. Burning sucks. Oh, geez. Blake, please come back soon. But the thing is that if you're willing to risk burning yourself out, you could theoretically defeat an army with just massive applications of gravitation. The problem is that only works if the enemy army comes at you head on, which only an idiot would keep doing after you start firing gravitation at them. And that's assuming your enemy army even has that as a tactic to begin with. Like go ahead.
You've got, like, gravitation is just force, right? It's just
right.
Pushing people backwards. Now, you can have to put a lot of force into someone if you're just pushing them.
Right. Well, early on, you're going to be able to do much more than just push people around. But like, say you get up to expert gravitation, if you put enough focus into it, you could crush a ribcage.
Yeah,
and all the juicy bits inside. So that would do the job. But here's the messed up thing, though. That example of a gravitation-wielding army just steamrolling over an opposing force, the example that I was supplied with for that had them going up against Rakros, which doesn't have a standing army.
Right.
Since that's basically just, okay, I'm going to go up against people who like to slip into my camp and poison me. I'm going to be effective with that. Another one that's been brought to my attention time and time again is the notion of raising an army of undead and just keeping everything away from it using necromancy.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. There has been exactly one necromancer. That's a nice flare. One necromancer since Magic was founded in Idalos who's been capable of doing that, and that's Ellison. And first off, she's one of the founders of Magic, has an incredibly powerful magical artifact amplifying all of her abilities, is dead, insane, and is a legendary level necromancer. And even then, it's not particularly reliable.
No.
So, no invincible army of undead, at least as Magic currently stands. And that ignores the fact that there's 3 ways to kill a raised corpse. One is to remove its head, the other is to remove its heart, and the other is to shatter, remove, or otherwise damage the well animating it. And yeah, so that's not like they're completely invincible.
No.
Even the Lich, yeah.
Then you've got, like, you know, if you want to go and you've got to equip all of them if you want to be effective. You know, if you want to have an effective undead army that can actually go up against a militant force, you can't just raise a load of, you can't just go through a countryside, kill a few farmers, and then have them run headfirst as a group of armored, heavily powerful knights on mounted horseback with pitchforks. You know, they all have to be armored up. They all have to be prepared. They know what they're doing, which they can't do if they weren't doing that when they were alive.
Right. Now, you can raise liches at, I think, master level.
Yeah.
And that would be better, but they have a will of their own. So
yeah. It's not like it's not like a mindless undead horde. It's a horde. If you're going to make a horde of liches, it's going to be difficult. They're going to have a mind of their own. They're going to...
You're basically going to have a regular army with magical powers.
Yeah.
Which, as we established, like, I think 5 minutes ago, isn't invincible either.
No.
There is one way to get away with the zombie horde thing, but that's using the Retherian. The Retherian do that, not necromancy.
Yeah.
And apparently I need to spend some time answering questions about those at some point, but I'll probably do that like midnight, because that seems to be when everybody's on.
Yeah.
One other question that came up frequently is what on earth is the difference between illusionism and empathy?
Yeah.
Which confused me at first until I read through illusionism again and found out that it can affect emotions. Okay. Illusionism's effect on emotions is just that, an illusion. You're not actually affecting with emotions, but you're making people think you are. Now, a well-done illusion can be as effective as reality. That is true. But if your illusion breaks, then you're left with absolutely nothing. You're just left there with somebody kind of pissed at you because for messing with their emotions. And I just broke my TV. Oh, crap. But empathy itself actually not only lets you feel the emotions of the people around you, if I read the lore right, but actually lets you manipulate their emotions. Like, you're not just standing there pretending to play with their emotions and making them believe you are. You're actually playing with it. But illusion, all magic comes with their own danger. Empathy's danger is that dealing with that many emotions can drive you completely insane. To the point,
nearly everyone insane. There's only one person who wasn't insane. Same for necromancy. Only one person has ever managed to do it, and
at legendary level.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Plague. In a second.
There we go.
There we go.
Are you alive?
Yes, friends.
Follow the sound of my voice.
literally plays with their emotions like a pretzel. Um, but I think it's transmutation that lets you play with their physical bodies like a pencil. If Plague will consent to allow, will bear me out on that.
Well, transmutation is more about the interaction between objects, non-living material, than people. Maybe at a much higher level, could you expect to walk up to a person and start trying to deconstruct their body? But really, you're looking at necromancy for that. The necromancy has two components to it. One of it is the raising the dead and whatnot, and the other component is this rotting touch, where you can basically deconstruct the body. It was mostly designed as a utility for necromancy, going through and helping to preserve the body by removing parts that were rotting, so you can shore up to make sure your corpse lasts longer. But in later levels of necromancy, can be used in an offensive way against even living beings.
Right. Okay. Stop that head. Okay. Dressari Lock, I think. Yes, friends, they do. Dressari wants to know what the drawback of something like abrogation would be.
Well, abrogation isn't really anything offensive, is it? At all?
It's defensive magic, but all magic has some form of drawback, and I'm actually currently in that article trying to find that drawback and sucking because I'm half distracted. Plague, can you bear us out on this?
On abrogation? Well, that was
what the
a
drawbacks
magic.
to abrogation would be.
That was a magic that Maltruism came up with. I wish that he was here to better explain it.
Except he's not up yet either.
Oh, of course not. We're the only people who are awake at a reasonable time during the day.
No, and Zenith, but he declined to join.
Yeah, friends. They do. Necromancers do have a touch of death thing going on. Abrogation.
Oh, please tell me he didn't freeze again.
Oh, he's frozen.
Oh, okay, good.
There we go. No, he's frozen again.
Now,
He's gone. No, he's back.
I don't know why. I just keep freezing. Anyways, Best, you've got the abrogation article up right now, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Are you? Is there an article? Is there a part in it for burning?
That's what I'm looking for, but
if not, then that must be something that would be edited in. The idea being that if you create shields, a necessary side effect of burning could be undue strain on your body. The amount of mana that you're tasking through your conduit could put an incredible amount of strain on the conduit itself. Remember, once your conduit explodes, A, you're not going to be able to cast spells anymore, and B, your conduit exploded, you might be dead.
Yeah, like if your conduit is, say, like a necklace, when your conduit exploded, it probably just blew your damn head off.
Right, I mean, like, it's a detonation collar at that point.
So...
Oh, God.
So, obviously, one of the greatest problems that you can come to in a lot of your magic casting is that you can overload your conduit. Now, there's no hard and fast rule over how much magic that you have to cast in order to overload your conduit. That's more of a moderator decision that's looking at the things you're doing. Basically, if you're being a little bit too, big for your britches, idea. If you're too arrogant about the magic that you're throwing around, if you're not considering the toll that it's taking on you, you should expect burning at the end of the thread. And worst case scenario, a moderator could come in and be like, "Wait, I'm sorry, did you say you were using shielding to hold back a waterfall? No. No. You exploded. That's what happened, really."
Yeah. That would be an awkward way to lose your head. Sorry.
So, if abrogation doesn't have burning in it, we're currently going through edits to all of the different magic disciplines right now. The next two that will be up will be transmutation and ensorcelment. And then from there, we intend to jump to necromancy and eventually go through all of the magics, make it a little bit clearer for people to understand. If you have general questions about the magic, really specific stuff, feel free to send it to either myself or Mythic. We'll address it within the within the rewrites that we're going to be doing. We're not going to be changing a lot of how the discipline works per se, just more of how to explain it.
Well,
exactly. Peak, you are correct. Here are your grades. You're dead.
yeah.
That's right. Abuse your magic. We're just gonna blow off your fucking head. Lucian.
Sure. There's also that, Leslie, is that abrogation is more of a reactive magic than a lot of the other ones that initiate.
Yeah. Without anyone else around to cast magic, it's sort of...
Like I said, I am late to the party in the sense that Mythic came up with a lot of these magics. Abrogation was not one of his. It was altruism.
Mythic came up with a lot of this magic back in like fucking January of last year. So
right. Well, I mean, in the sense that he's more of an expert on exactly what he was going for. The answers that you're going to get from me are my interpretations after talking to Mythic and what I'm kind of going for with Mythic in the rewrites to make things a little bit clearer. And in addition to the rewrites, we are coming out with some new magical disciplines that are currently being worked on behind the scenes,
which are very, very nice.
Aw, thank you.
Yes, Lazuli. A drawback to abrogation could be that you got hit by a match before you knew how to respond to it. But another possible like burning side effect would be like a permanent numbness, or encasing yourself in a fucking bubble for the rest of eternity like a dumbass. Wouldn't that suck?
Also, very willing to hear the community's answers to this. As a player, if you think you've got a cool idea for what a good drawback for being overzealous with abrogation would be, feel free to PM it to Mythic or myself.
Oh, by all means, yes. And for that matter, if you have an idea for a magic you think would be cool, send that to Mythic or Plague themselves, and they'll see if they can find a way to work it into something.
Absolutely. If you, we'll be happy to work with you on it. If it becomes live, exactly. We'll credit you with it. It'll be cool. It'll be awesome.
Right. Exactly, friends. That would give new meaning.
Thank you, Ada.
Really quick, does Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. You hadn't done something?
Just Ada remembers my vlog on another site where it is a Seinfeld thing.
Oh, okay.
So.
Really quick before we move on to other magical things. Oh, by the way, chat, there is a slight delay between when somebody says something and when you all hear it. Due to the fact that it is streaming, it is actually encoding this whole thing as we're going. Really quick, before we move on to some other questions, possibly some other topics, does anyone have any questions from what we've discussed, from what we've already discussed?
Or any magics in general.
Right, or any magics in general, for that matter, or anything in general.
I think I might have a question.
Shoot, go ahead.
From Adia. I can't pronounce the name.
That runs around a lot.
Pronounce it as frustratingly as possible.
As Adia. Yes, that one.
That's a common drawback to any magic, actually, Lazuli. Or Lazuli. Okay, what was your question here, Thunder?
Don't you dare. I might want to make a mermaid mage.
Okay.
Steal a conduit from the magic group, which I'm guessing she means the Seekers.
Oh,
interesting.
Underwater crap. The one thing we still have problems with. The colors pronounced Saha, evidently.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do the thing. I'm not gonna do the thing, Ada.
Do the thing.
I'm not doing the thing. I'm explaining the answer to the question. Okay, so you want to steal a conduit. You want to steal a conduit from somebody else, and basically be able to use it like a rogue magic user running around the bottoms. Technically possible. There's a way to do it. First of all, you'd have to recognize with attunement. So someone would have to show you enough attunement so that you could identify what is indeed a conduit, and then know exactly what sort of magic is tasked within that conduit. Because if you don't know and you do the wrong thing, you'll explode.
Yeah.
To
She's
add
also
to it,
a mermaid.
there are going to be all pre-existing mermages.
Mermaids.
Yeah, because one of the things Ellison, before she died, was in fact a web spinner, and that means that the web spinners had really early access to magic through her. Among other things, she actually taught magic to Labre, and Labre passed it on to some of the other web spinners. And there are web spinners, so there are likely to be mermages. Now then, Grisari has a query for us.
The mage.
Does your magic get stronger the closer you are to a fracture? Rift, or whatever it's called.
Actually, for beginner mages, the amount of mana that is in the air actually makes it very dangerous to be casting a spell, because you might accidentally draw in more mana than your conduit is prepared to handle, and it will destroy the conduit. If you're near a fracture, you need to be expert master or higher at your magic when you're casting it, or else you risk, because ordinarily, like the diffusion of mana around the world, the fact that you can cast mana almost anywhere, is there's a certain mana diffusion in the world itself, and around the fractures, it's so much more condensed. So when you're doing your natural drawing in, if you just consider it to be like drawing it through a funnel, you're getting way more. 10 times more than you're expecting to get. So, yes, in theory, your magic would be stronger if it didn't destroy your conduit first.
And thus possibly you. And, someone seriously needs to draw a mermage now. That's never going to go away.
What might be interesting is actually creating a sect of mermages with certain magics that would be more appropriate to them underneath the sea.
Exactly.
Them running around down there.
Yes, Franz. Actually, that is kind of an apt comparison.
Yeah.
It is in ways like a nuclear battery. Of course, in ways it's also like a car engine.
Put too much fuel in it, you drive it too fast, you're gonna crash.
Man,
yes.
All these bird questions.
For the love of God, link that pic. And Ada,
Where is Jacob? Where is he? I guess the question would be: are MERS mammals or fish? Which one are they? Are they mamfish? Mamish?
Most of the mer races started as humans.
So then you would think yes. The answer would be yes.
Yes, there are a couple, I think one mer tribe that started as fish, and they may not, but I would guess off the top of my head that the answer is yes, and that's also true, Peak. Well, the Ithacal and the Raskithal lay eggs.
Well, I mean, like, also consider that platypuses lay eggs.
Also true. Platypuses are fucking weird. And yes, Pete, that's actually
they also lay eggs. So
yes, Pete, that's actually completely true. The mer are considered mistakes by Cryan. How do you fucking pronounce that name? I've always called it Cryan though. So
a lot of the races are mistakes, though. A lot of them.
A good number of them are actually. The Severance certainly weren't intended.
Yeah.
The
Ithacal.
The Ithacal are a weird case there. Ethelinda intended to help them. She didn't actually intend to give them snake tails, but it worked.
The accidents. Let's call it that.
Yeah. There's also I seriously doubt that the Aokari were intended to be the way they are.
Yeah, seems a bit weird.
Yeah, the others I think were more intentional. Um,
I'm glad that everyone else was more intentional because I'm starting to get the feeling that like the gods were like, shit, oops, crap, like just dropping things all over the place.
oh shit!
Angel.
No, yes,
Angel
actually,
person.
friends, that is completely true. Humanity on Idolos was a complete and utter accident, and
Yeah.
it's all Karam's fault.
Damn, Cam.
What happened? To give a brief summary for those who missed last night's vlog or didn't get I think it was 2 hours into it when Jade finally explained it. Oh, crap.
And Kingdom and Jade got so many people than we did.
Yeah, but they did it like 1 in the morning when there was nothing else going on. Excuse me while I link Lucien again. But to give a brief summary, every time the original 8 created an immortal, they broke a little more. Karam was the last immortal made, and 7 of the original 8 died, and their essence became humanity. I don't know if they left behind fractures, though. If they did, that would be the strongest 7 fractures ever.
They did. That's actually true. There are 7 immensely powerful fractures in the world. They haven't been placed all together yet, but they do exist.
Which is probably where things like the Lens of Arcanus or the All Nexus came from.
Ooh.
But yes, Karen was the last immortal made, and her creation shattered the 7 of the original 8. Delana survived somehow. That will be explored later. But yes, actually, if you really want to look at races that are an accident, okay, Lucien. The Retherion were a complete and utter mistake. Rascalarn actually spends a lot of time trying to destroy them because because of how dangerous they are, and that most Retherion have the mental functions of this thing. I don't think that's how that worked. We're sorry.
Okay. I liked how black magic is the source of magic. It's just a different kind of magic.
It's a racist kind of magic.
Oh, one quick thing about magic that I don't know if it stayed anywhere in the lore. The full immortals cannot practice magic. Mana is actually toxic to them. You can actually make an immortal sick by just flooding the area with mana.
That applies to the Mortalborn as well, right?
No, sort of. There are certain magics they can't use. Like, I don't think they can practice empathy. However, and I'm not sure about necromancy either. I know they can't practice the corrosive touch deal, but I think they might actually be able to raise corpses. But, for example, abrogation, illusionism, attunement, gravitation, they all work for... Mortalborn can practice them. Among other things, there's at least 3 Mortalborn off the top of my head that actually know or are learning magic. That would be Labre, Valtharn, and Quaris? That guy.
We should not arm demigods with magic. That's a terrible idea.
God, France. Especially considering the 3 that do have it. Karis himself is harmless for the most part, but Labre is the web spinner, as far as that organization goes. The only one higher ranked than her is Sintra herself. But actually, aside from the kidnapping children and working for megalomaniacal, insane immortal, Labre is actually pretty benign.
Well,
yes.
Sorry. Yeah, actually, since the wells are actually pretty malleable in the form that they come with. You actually can construct your own conduits, but for that you need an actual magic discipline, one of the two that don't use conduits to work. Ensorcelment. Ensorcelment is about the tasking of wells into conduits.
And it's also easier to say, Franz. Balthorn, on the other hand, is a bad thing to have magic, I'll admit. Especially since her two main magics are gravitation and abrogation. Of course, she doesn't use them much because she's the kind of person who likes to get in personal, peel your flesh from your skin from your body with a frickin' butter knife.
Lovely person. Lovely personality.
Oh, yes. Yes, Balthorn is just a treasure. Let's see. Does anyone else have any more questions? Have any questions about magic or anything in general?
The anything in general is Basilisk. You can ask Basilisk about anything. Ask me about magic. I don't know much else.
And actually some blessings. You have done work on at least one blessing.
Okay, I did do that as well. You're
implies
right.
an understanding of how blessing mechanics work.
Okay, I know that. I know that is. Stop assigning me more expertise. They'll ask me questions.
Oh, Plague also knows a bit about halachas.
Ah, God damn it.
And Thunder knows all about weather phenomena. What?
Is a weather
What
phenomenon.
does that mean? Ciaran. What do you mean, Fleek?
Means that it's on point. It's good.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. But yes, Thunder knows all about weather phenomenon.
Oh yes, I know everything about a weather phenomenon. Today in Rhinemere, we'll be having sunny skies with a chance of rain and potential deadly meteorites thanks to a certain gravitation user.
Now that I'm done picking on my co-hosts, does anybody else do either of you have any questions that you have yet to have answered and would like answered? Ah, the deafening sounds of silence.
They're all writing up. Can you give us any pointers on your mustache? I especially could use some pointers, you know.
Don't shave.
Oh, well, I've been trying that. 22 years.
Aha changed her name to something that looks like it might actually be harder to pronounce.
Oifi.
Oifi. Oife?
That's what I choose to pronounce it as. Just forget the A entirely. It's a silent A. It's Oifi.
Oify.
Okay, in all seriousness, I don't shave my mustache. I just trim it down so I don't wind up eating it. So there's that.
Thanks, Oify.
You enjoy watching us struggle with your name, don't you?
I don't struggle. I just pick whatever pronunciation sounds the funniest in my head and choose it.
Oife. Oifi.
Oify.
Oifi.
Anyway, before we get too caught up in pronouncing weird names, since this could go on for quite a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Oify.
I mean, just imagine if someone starts asking us to pronounce immortal names.
There was a segment on that last night. Jade went through and pronounced all of the immortal names.
And then had trouble with the Chamadarst and Raleigh.
I'm not gonna try to do that.
F. Actually, Thunder. I couldn't remember your staff name for a moment. I'm sorry. Now that since you'll be joining me with an Avorian, What are your? Do you have any questions or ideas about that particular realm?
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh goodness. I was going to message you about all these sort of things later on, but now you're putting me on the spot about it.
Why is it so hot in here?
It's just
No
me.
idea how long you've actually been doing this for.
I think essentially we don't have enough questions to really continue unless you have an agenda of what else you'd like to discuss.
Yeah.
I know
Consider
people.
having our vlogs closer to the evening of most of our players. That seems to be when they're most actively available and interested in asking questions, and when they get the brunt of their role-playing them.
Yeah.
Right. That is a fair point, and I think we are actually just about running out of discussion topics, which works for me because I didn't want this to be 2 hours and 42 fucking minutes. Lord. Oh! Aoife, you had questions about Faldrin? I think?
Maybe.
She said Faldrin, so I think she might have a question. I actually do know
No, just going through the pronunciation that Jade was going through last night.
Oh.
Like I said,
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think, in generality, if there are any other questions, we should gather them up. In fact, might be a good idea to have a before every vlog, a couple of days before it comes out, to create a topic where we can put down the questions from various people that want to ask. Give them time to any of the questions that they would like addressed or better explained in a specific vlog. And so once we get everybody together, we can go through the submitted questions beforehand, and then anybody who happens to be there at the time can submit any other questions that they have.
Oh, Peak has a very interesting question. What would you think of a magic that uses the mana of someone else? For example, using another mortal as a conduit or forcing someone else to cast a spell. And conduit does not equal artifact, by the way. An artifact, there are 2 artifacts I know off the top of my head while Plague ponders the answer to your first question. One is the lens, which, if I recall correctly, is what allowed the flying fortress of Arcanus to fly before it came crashing down somewhere in the Hotlands.
All right. There is a magic in development that utilizes something from somebody else, the life force of somebody else per se, but using. And first of all, you're not really using someone else's mana. The caster and the mana and the mana being the fuel goes through the conduit, which is the catalyst, which casts the spell, and the mage's will directs the manifestation of that spell. So, could you use someone else's will to channel through this conduit and take the mana damage onto themselves? Theoretically, yes, but it feels like that would be more of an application of illusionism or empathy, a kind of a manipulation thing, or were you thinking of a more direct route, like grabbing someone by their face and being like, "You cast spells now," and having it work that way so that you can completely
dominate?
Well, I mean, you can circumvent the risks to casting, which is what I assume that this magic would be about.
While we wait for the people in the chat to catch up to what we just said, because there's that bit of delay, Aoife, I think that's how she said that's pronounced, asked if Lycera regularly gives out illnesses, and the answer to that is yes and no. If you're in Rakros, you're going to come down with something. You're either going to be poisoned, you're going to get sick, your frickin' fingers are going to start to rot and fall off, or you're going to wind up with a million frickin' insects hanging out in your shorts or something. However, she doesn't generally just venture beyond Rakros and just start handing out illnesses. That isn't to say that doesn't happen. Every so often she does come out and just gives an entire city the 7-week itch or whatever she's feeling like inflicting upon people at the moment. Which is partly done for balance issues. If you look in the lore for Desmond, at one point Lycera got pissed off. Yeah, that would be a thing. pants full of lice would be a thing. At one point, Lysera got pissed off and wiped out all life in Desmond. I don't mean like just the people. She killed off every human, Akari, whatever, every animal, every plant, everything. It was dead. It was a dead spot on the planet. Now, Mozeki was able to revive it, but part of the reason Mozeki didn't prevent the plague from happening in the first place is because Lysera told her that if she did, it told Mozeki that if she interfered with that plague, Lysera would loose it upon the rest of Idalos. Part of the reason Lysera has that childlike, playful demeanor and doesn't venture beyond Rakros personally very often is to keep her from being just game-breakingly a threat.
Her other sisters probably help keep her in check in terms of like her moods and things, and of course she does have a certain attachment to poisoners and envenomers and people that have
Right.
that follow her way. So as long as you kind of follow her rules and things in Rakros, I don't assume that people are gonna like live in Rakros all the time if the only thing you can expect is to get sick, envenomed, or swarmed by bugs.
Not entirely, actually. Rakros does have a permanent population, but they've mostly developed an immunity to most of the illnesses and whatnot that naturally hang about the area, and they're constantly making up antidotes for whatever illness they invent, and testing both the illness and the antidote out on visitors, each other, slaves, their dog.
Lysera's a threat. All of the immortals are threats, but there's sort of that understanding of mutually assured destruction. If anybody goes way off the handle, it could ruin things for everybody else. It seems to be like a tenuous balance between them all that allows them to make small moves and displays of their power within their realms and areas of influence.
And occasionally stepping outside their realm.
Yeah, as long as they don't step outside their realm, cause a lot of trouble around the world, they won't expect the other immortals to come to bat.
Right.
Yeah.
That is definitely something they all consider. Some of them, like Audrey, Sintra, and Rascalarn, just kind of ignore that rule, though. But for the since Audrey, Sintra, and Rascalarn are pretty much only allied with themselves, and yes, Dressari, that is what happens. They do get basically super disease and poison resistance rather than immunity. But since Rascalarn, Sintra, and Audrey don't align themselves with either of the two major factions, they get more leeway on the direct interference thing than the others do. Now then, he commented on his mana stealing thing, like if you wish to take that.
Sure. Okay. Once again, mana is the quality that is produced by the death of an immortal. It is in the air, and it will poison you. Mana is not supposed to be in human bodies. In point of fact, it's what causes a lot of burning. Apart from the blowing up of your conduit, mana poisoning is a very big risk to casters. So your idea of putting mana into somebody's body would theoretically be, in eventuality, fatal to them. Fatal to anything, really, especially to immortals.
It would without effort kill an immortal. Without exception, kill an immortal. Now then, quickly going over some of the symptoms of mana sickness. That's generally burning, but that can include anything from permanent constant muscle spasms, insomnia, megalomania, sociopathism, complete numbness, necrophilia.
You got a lot of mental and physical.
Well, you're going far. You're jumping the sharks on like necrophilia. What?
That is actually one of the burning lists on necromancy. I'm dead serious.
Why did he do that? Why?
I don't know.
I gotta talk to him. I gotta have words.
If you read the thing on necromancy, you're forming this. You're supposed to be forming this tight bond with your thrall to control them properly, and it sort of makes sense. If you're making this tight bond, this complete bond, brawl, sooner or later,
no,
it's
Split,
going to
stop.
develop.
Stop it. Stop. No. No justification. You shut up. I'm going to talk to him.
Okay. Really quick, we got some more comments and questions from chat.
Yes, absolutely.
Really quick. Franz, yes, it is like Mercury.
Sorry. There are creatures that are, for like, mana-born. Creatures that are mutated by mana. They're often around fractures. They're weird. They're really strange. It's another thing that Mythic and I will be working on is sort of the effects of what stuff is around the different fractures. There are creatures that are mana-born that have an inborn trait to use magic. There are even some creatures that could serve as a conduit. It's a far-off magic that we're only basically toying with right now.
They're working on it. Now, one other thing though that Mythic and I, and we need to bring Plague into it, is the notion of a race that was being born from mana mutation.
A whole race.
Yeah, that's something we've been bouncing back and forth for a while, but we haven't really settled on whether it be possible and what kind of form it would take. Shards originally intended the Illidai, his crystal race, to be a mana mutated race, but eventually created Ellig instead. So that's a possibility. A mana-born race is a possibility down the road, but we haven't sorted out what form that would take or anything like that.
Yeah, because like you just said, mana like Mercury.
Okay, Illidai are the crystal race. Sierra, I don't know if you caught up with the Illidai or the crystal race. My pronunciation of their name is absolutely atrocious. But it's
I call them Yuludi.
Yuludi. Yeah, that's what I call them. Yuludi.
I don't know what an ethereal is, Ciaran, Lord's Blade, but that's probably just because I don't do much tabletop, I'm guessing. So, let's see. Was there anything else? That's a potential form that might take. A race of mana being born that has problems keeping a stable body. That's something we consider. It would also give us an outlet into more non-humanoid races, which is something I've been campaigning for forever. But at the same time, I do understand why we have so many humanoid races. It makes it a lot easier to find faceplanes and describe how they move about. I mean, good lord. I know that the Call and the Rask give people a lot of trouble with movement because they don't have legs.
They slither everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? Give it a moment for that to catch up and then actually give them another moment to write their responses.
We should have really gone through the Q&A, shouldn't we? I mean, there's a Q&A form. Should have gone through Q&A and looked through the unanswered questions. I
tried that. Oh, there is a Q&A. Fuck, I didn't set that up though, so I'm not sure it works. Let me examine. Yeah, that was not even set up, so we don't have to worry about the Q&A.
Basilisk. Franz has a question for you.
Oh.
An outsider species.
That's
Idlos.
Aoife. Really quick, let me answer Aoife's question before Francis because it will take me a little less time. Aoife, we are still taking mortal-born applications, but you have to have been here for 2 months before you can apply that. You have to have been an active player for 2 months before you can apply for mortal-born. That's just to keep people from applying for one right out of the gate. It shows us that you have some commitment to the site, is basically what it is.
I believe, and I meant to talk to Jade about this. I believe that you should also understand that, Mortalborn being pretty important, to the Pantheon and the way things go. I mean, this hasn't been exactly
focused on.
Logic, but if you abandon the character or you drop off the face of the earth, they should probably be
NPCs.
into being NPCs because they're too important to just vanish.
That's probably going to be a thing that happens, yes.
Yeah.
Franz, Hugger. As to your question, that is another race idea that's been considered, is races from outside of Idalos. It wouldn't be, but no, Pete, they wouldn't exactly be star traveling alien type things, unless I decide to eventually go with my idea of flooding Idalos with xenomorphs on Halloween one day. But if you were to look at the world of Idalos form and scroll down to near the bottom, you will see that there is a form called Emia. That is the dream world, and it's not just a realm of dreams. It is, in fact, a separate existence that reached out, and it's either Emia or something else in it is somewhat sentient, because it reached out and claimed Jesnine and Kiela to make them the mortal borns of dreams and nightmares. So it's entirely possible a race born of Emia will... bye, Aoife. A race of dream creatures will at some point. Right now... right now that's a bit on the back burner.
Yeah. Will the dream people even have bodies?
I'm not sure.
Big
That's
bodies.
something I'll have. That's something that the notion of a dream world race would definitely have to be discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're gonna run this for a maximum of 19 more minutes, because that'll end us off at 2 o'clock my time, which seems like we'll have been going for over an hour at that point.
Good time for me to go grab lunch.
Yeah, it's getting time for people to grab lunch. I really need to get my computer off my lap before it melts a hole through my leg. So we've got 18 more minutes.
Sorry, do not go 40K on us. I have had enough Grimdark.
Okay, really quick before we since we're nearing to the end, does anyone have any other questions about web spinners, the Coven, which I know a decent bit about, Ellison herself, things like that?
It's a shame Evelyn's in here, because I know she was very interested in the source stuff.
And who? Who wasn't interested in?
Evelyn.
Evelyn. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Evelyn had a lot of questions. That's a shame. Well, I think Evelyn's actually working right now.
Yeah. We will. This won't be the only vlog we do on Magic. We might actually make something like this, like a bi-weekly type of thing. Okay. The status of the Emia, however I wind up pronouncing that world, it's kind of in limbo because originally it was supposed to be me and Dementia working on that. I would say actually yes, but your mana would take your spells would take on some weird forms, because mana there would be odd in and of itself, unless I get contradicted by either Plague or Mythic on that.
I can't tell you where the frig mana is. This place is an entirely different world. You tell me if it's there.
I would say it's there, but it's odder, but it's different than the mana in the real world. So your spells will take on odd forms, and some of them might not work. Like, I don't see necromancy being much of a thing in the dream world. The corrosive touch part, maybe, but not the raising of the dead in the world of dreams.
You can raise people's dead
There are no dead people in dreams. We know that. They all wake up before they die.
Once you die in the world of dreams, once something dies in the world of dreams, it ceases to exist there. But as for when more Emia Dream World stuff is coming, it was originally supposed to be me and Dementia working on it. But if you go to look at any of Dementia's stuff, you will notice that she is not here. She got buried by real life and had to take a leave of absence. So right now that's just me working on it, and right now my focus is on things in Idalos. Yeah, that's a pretty good example, friends. Real World Mana is a Pepsi product, and therefore better than Dream World Mana, which is a Coke product.
Wow, gonna just step out there and take a stand, huh?
I'm wondering how many people are going to be mad about that. So
Divisive, Basilisk, divisive.
Now that I have shot a hornet's nest with a potato gun, does anybody else have any other questions?
So I think we're actually pretty, unless there is an extremely important question that is coming up, we're actually probably okay because we keep fishing for questions, like picking up our members, like shaking them as if we're like, where are your curiosities? We know we're not perfect. There's more you need to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this though. Things they want to know.
What?
We did find they know the things they want to know. If they have questions, they'll come forward and give us curiosities and questions. We should create a place to gather the questions that they want us to address the next vlog.
And I will make something like that. Now, really quick before we proceed into the wrap up, I'm going to say. Oh, hold on. Sorry, there's one last question. That's actually going to be a form of blessing. Sorry. Dreamwalking will probably be part of both Kielik and Jesne's blessings, rather than an Arcana. Though it might, if Plague and Mythic want to make an Arcana for Dreamwalking, they're certainly more than welcome to. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon either, though, because
we currently have no plans for that. Right now on the docket is becoming, devouring, rupturing, and rewrites on the magic that exists.
A lot of violent and fun-sounding things, and some rewrites.
Devouring and rupturing, you just said.
Yes, devouring, rupturing, and becoming. Becoming is I'm just looking for a picture for it before we upload it.
You will see young Padawans.
I've seen.
Devouring is almost done, and rupturing will follow.
Cool.
Those both sound very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Before we wrap things up, to anyone who had questions about topics we covered in this vlog, we will be revisiting these topics later on down the road. So don't feel like you did get that this is going to be your only chance to have questions answered about these topics in the vlog. So if you know, Franz, there will be no Arcana dealing with the elements, at least for the foreseeable future, because that is an element. Elements are the domain of the immortals for now. When an elemental immortal dies, then maybe, but for now, they're all locked up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we're going to wrap things up here, though, because I'm starting to overheat, and people want to go get food, so...
Yeah.
We're going to let Basilisk go so that he can die of heat exhaustion in peace.
Right. This has been Basilisk, along with my oh-so-noble cohorts, Plague, and my camera died at some point. I wonder when that happened. Plague and Thunder.
Wow, you actually paused to remember that.
I mean, Thunder's a hard name to remember. It's not
You have been staffed for a day and a half. Chill. And half the time I can't even remember my own damn staff.
So. You should have picked a less obscure name, Thunder. It's your fault.
Oh yeah, let me just call. What should I call myself? I'll call myself Blanket. Yeah, that's a great name.
You are not the son of Michael fucking Jackson.
Accurate. You're being a little bit of a wet blanket right now, getting on his case.
Okay, we're gonna wrap things up. We'll see you all in the next vlog, where we will hopefully be a little more structured and a little less having no idea what the hell we're gonna do. So.
Hopefully, no promises.
Yeah, no promises. In the meantime, everybody, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all then. Good night, or good day, folks.